Hey guys, welcome to the Advancement Through Adversity podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Trueblood, and in every episode, we'll be hearing from real people who have real stories about triumphs and failures. Whether we're talking about physical or mental health, relationships, business ventures, you name it, there will always be setbacks. That is a guarantee. But that's where the magic happens, and that's what we'll be here talking about every single week. I'm seriously so excited to take this deep dive with you. So with that being said, let's get started. All right, guys, welcome to Advancement Through Adversity podcast. Today I have a very special guest. She is an awesome friend, a really great real estate agent, and a colleague of mine. She goes by the name of Brandy Bryan.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm
Yes.
super honored that you would even message me. So I was shocked, but it was really cool. So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, you were actually like one of the first people I thought of when I came up with this concept. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have her on my podcast. She is a shining example of what I'm trying to convey to the world.
That's so awesome. That makes me so happy. It really does.
Yeah, so let's get started by having you kind of give everybody a backstory. Like, who are you? What do you do? Why do you do the things that you do? All the good stuff.
Yeah. So I am married. I've been married to my husband since 2006, but crazy chain of events. We actually were divorced for a hot minute, and we were divorced for less than a year before we got remarried. So we've been together since I was 16, so a long time.
High school sweethearts.
Yeah. So we've been together for a long time. We've like grown up together, and he's amazing. I have two boys who are Tristan, he's 15, and then he's about to be 15. Then I have Blake, who's 13. Yeah, so that's my family. They're the most important thing to me. I'm a real estate agent. I've done that for 3 years, and I also just started investing in real estate and flips, and that's actually why I became a real estate agent. I am like huge into yoga and personal development and working for yourself and growing, and yeah, so I mean I've owned businesses. I've only worked for like people. I think I worked for like 3 companies. Like when I was young, I've always basically worked for myself.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've owned multiple companies, and this is my jam though. I finally found the one that works for me.
Isn't that cool when you like do all these different things and try lots of different stuff out, and then you finally find the one that fits, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, where have you been all my life?
Yeah, exactly. And the crazy thing about it is that all of the different things that I have done, I'm a self-taught, so YouTube, Google, podcast, books, all of that is where I've learned everything. And so all of those different avenues that I had taken, I mean, it's because of all those things that's where I am today, because I've learned so many different skills and whatnot that have translated into what I do now. I feel like had I not had all those experiences, I wouldn't be as successful as I am today, because I kind of grew off of all of those things.
Right. Okay. Well, so let's kind of dig into that a little bit. So you said you've only worked for a couple of different people, like a W-2 job, not being self-employed when you were young. What made you decide to start a business, and what was that first business that you started?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, since I was little, I mean, like young, like I was always trying to figure out ways to monetize things, ways to make money. It's so weird when I think about it now. I mean, anything that I was into, I was trying to create a business out of it. So I was trying to figure out how I could make money doing it. And so my first job, I was like a hostess, busser, like at a Greek restaurant. And I think I was 14 when I started there. And it was awesome. I learned a lot. It was great. It was a great family restaurant, and they were really great people. So that was like my high school job that I had did that. So that's one of the places that I worked. And then after I graduated, I didn't want to go to college right away. I kind of wanted to do my own thing. Mm-hmm. So I went out and lived in Illinois. I worked for a law firm downtown in Chicago because like I wanted to be in the city and do city life and all of that. It was not very long that I realized that was not going to pay the bills.
Yeah.
That it wasn't super cool to like be in the city.
It's like super expensive to be in the city.
Yeah. So I decided that I was going to go to school. So I went to school for nursing because like, isn't that what everybody does? Like
nursing and teaching.
Yeah. If you're like a girl, like of course you go to school for nursing. So I did that. And I mean, the science behind nursing was always intriguing. So I'm also kind of like a nerd. Like I really love like learning, and especially like science and math and all that. Like that's my jam. I'm super interested in it. So that was cool, but I mean, nursing was not my thing. So after that is when me and my husband, we split for a little bit. When I went to Illinois, he went down to IU, and we broke up for a little while. And when I came back from Illinois and like the city and stuff, we got back together. We were dating for a short period of time, and then I actually got pregnant with my son. And so that's when I left school and went to work for this like marketing company that was in Valpo. That was super cool. They were like, I mean, like they were the new thing. So they're the ones who actually developed if you go on a website and like video is playing like right then and there, like they're the ones who developed that, which like now it seems like, okay, well everybody uses that. But back in the day, like you used to have to like go and like hit play and stuff. So, yeah, I learned a lot about like pay-per-click marketing and all of that stuff. So that was super cool. I really did like working there. They were laid back. And then, so my husband, he left school. He came here. He got a job. He got a job on the railroad. He still works on the railroad today. And then I worked there until I had my second son. And then my second son, I had like my first son was preterm, and then my second son, I started to go into labor when I was only 23 weeks.
Oh, man.
So I almost lost him. So I was on hospital bed rest for like months.
Oh, my gosh.
So I lost my job because I couldn't work there. And so then I was stayed at home for a while. So I come from a family of stay-at-home moms, and it's just kind of like the thing that you do. And so like I thought like I was supposed to do that's what I was supposed to do. I hated it. And I like didn't, like I felt like that was wrong. Like that I should love doing it. I should be grateful that I should be doing that.
Right. I stayed home with my kids for a short period of time, and I was so miserable the whole time, and I couldn't pinpoint why I was miserable because I was like, well, I'm a mom. I'm supposed to want to spend all of my waking and sleeping hours with my children, and I'm a terrible person if I want to go to work and have adult conversations. How dare I?
Right. Exactly. I mean, that's like how I felt. And so it was really, really hard because I really just hated it. I was like born to work. I was born to make money, or at least at the time, that's like, you know, how I viewed it. So then me and my husband, we bought a house. You know, I was doing the stay-at-home mom thing, and then the recession came. So the '08 recession came, and he was working on the railroad, and everybody was laid off, like like everybody was laid off. And so we got the call. I knew that it was coming. So proactively, I was like, listen, how can I make money? Because this is how I think. Like, how can I it's just the conversation that's always going on in my head.
Right.
And I was like, I can do an at-home daycare because I can take my kid, I can watch my kids, and I can watch other people's kids. And I started that really knowing that my husband was going to end up being laid off. And a few months into it, that's exactly what happened. He got laid off.
Wow.
And so railroad unemployment is very different than standard unemployment. So we don't pay Social Security taxes, things like that, or he doesn't. So we didn't get standard unemployment. He got $1,200 a month in unemployment, and our mortgage was $1,200 a month. So the rest, I was like, I have to make this up. So so I did the home daycare, and that's where a lot of the business stuff started. That it was like a crash course. It was survival. It was like up all night long learning how to like build websites and market and like get my name out there, and then, you know, like bookkeeping and getting in touch with like state programs and how to get paid through there. And that was just like that was like my big crash course on like starting a business. but it was my jam. Like, I knew it was way better than like working for somebody else. So I did that for a few years, and then it just became too much. Like, I was working nonstop. And I hired like my sister and her friend, and they were doing a lot of it, but it was a lot. It was a lot in my house. You know, I had 2 levels, and so like one of the levels like with a separate entrance, but it was just always chaos. Like, it had worn on me, and I was over it. Like, I just wanted to I wanted to do my own thing, and that kind of came, and I loved it when I did it, but like it came out of a need. Like, I was trying to fix a problem that wasn't something that like I wanted to do with my life, if that makes sense.
Right.
So
you were making money and you were doing the motions, but you weren't like necessarely passionate about or feeling purposeful about what you were doing.
Exactly. Yeah. And so then once I quit that, I stayed at home for a while, again, like just taking care of the kids, because on the railroad, the way that his schedule worked was he was nonstop on call. So they would call him and he'd have 2 hours to get there, and they could call him whenever. So there was like no really like me going to work, because I had no idea. Like, we weren't going to pay for daycare if he wasn't working, but we never knew if he was going to be working or not. So no daycares would like work with that. So yeah, then I had like a clothing business. I sold Essential Oils, which is a multi-level marketing company, which, by the way, people think that they're awful and they're skeezy and they're scammy, but I think everybody should do a multi-level marketing. And I'm not even like gonna try and pitch mine, but you learn sales skills that will take you wherever you need to go, and everybody needs sales skills. Like, I don't care who you are, like, you need sales skills.
That was one of my first businesses. I actually sold essential oils too for like, I don't know, maybe a year or so. And I did okay, but I learned a lot about, and then I did done a couple others, and my friends have sold makeup and all of that, and it's only a scam if you are a scam artist.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, they're definitely out there, but
yeah, do your research and know what you're getting into. I mean, just be smart about it, just like anything else would be, you know? So, that's where I learned about really scaling and residual income. So I did really well. I still do it today. It's been like 7 years.
Wow.
I'm not as active in it anymore, but that's because I did a ton of front end work, and so now I have a consistent residual income from that.
But you've gotten to a point in that where you don't even really have to work the business. It just kind of does itself.
Right.
That's awesome. That's like every entrepreneur's dream.
Right, exactly.
Like going to bed and waking up with more money in your account while you're eating your breakfast.
Yeah. And that's where that's what I mean. Like, everything kind of just played and grew and grew. And that's where I really understood like what owning a business really means, what working for yourself really means, that it's being able to like step away and it work and run itself. Like, that's the goal. That's what you're working towards.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this show so far. I just wanted to pop in and thank you so much for being here. But I also wanted to give a quick shout out to my friends over at Dagger Mountain Roastery. They just opened up their new lobby, and you've got to go check it out if you haven't already. It's such a great place to get your coffee. Like, the staff is amazing, the decor is beautiful, and obviously the coffee is delicious. Look, this is not a paid sponsorship or anything like that. I just really love their coffee and want to spread that good word. Anyway, back to the show.
My husband's family, they flipped houses and stuff, so I'd been exposed to that. I had learned a lot about it. I had always wanted to become an agent. I'd always wanted to flip, but it just never made sense because of my husband's work schedule. There was no way that I could be on call and him be on call. You know, it just wouldn't work. So once my kids got a little bit older, and once that my other business was kind of running itself, like, it just made sense that like, hey, let's try this now. Let's try real estate and see what happens. And that's the big game changer in my life, was real estate, for sure. It blew everything else out of the water. So I went to real estate school so that I could learn the market, be able to find the deals myself. And in the meantime, I loved it. I didn't expect to love selling, but I did. So that's where I am today. I'm selling real estate and doing investing. That was a very long-winded to get me here.
But it's amazing though, right? Like, it sounds like it's such a small thing, like, oh yeah, I sell real estate and I'm buying home, but there's so much behind that.
Oh, for sure.
And I think you might undersell yourself a little bit to say that was long-winded for just this. Like, that's a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
And, you know, to be able to kind of look back and see like why things happen the way that they happen for you to get here now, that's such an important realization. So
yeah,
what's one thing in your transition from stay-at-home mom to self-employment, and then switching, you know, shutting down your daycare and doing this, and then transitioning into real estate after your kids got older, like, tell me about a time that you were really, it was an uncomfortable situation, or you were struggling in some way, or you were unhappy, and you kind of worked through that, and where that kind of connects to the next chain of events to get you closer to your purpose.
I mean, don't get me wrong, there's been a lot of struggle, bad times in my life, but something that I'm just going to mention, the thing that pops into my head, after I had done the clothing thing, after I had done the oils, all of that stuff. I mean, anybody who's ever tried to start a business or has started a business knows the time, the effort, the sweat, the work that you put in without anything coming back to you is so hard. It's so high. I mean, you sacrifice your time, money, I mean, everything. And so with each new business, there came that time period where you're just working, and nothing's coming back to you yet. When I was thinking about becoming an agent, I was in school and I was just tired. I was just tired. And I went to my husband and I said, I'm sick of hustling. Like, I'm just sick of hustling. I'm sick of always having to worry about where the next dollar is and how I'm going to get paid. I just want to go to work and get a paycheck and come home and be done, like, and not have my phone ring, and just go to work and be done, and it be that simple. And he was like, well, whatever you want to do. He's always super supportive. I mean, he'll question me when I need to be, but he's like, whatever, if that's what you want to do. So I actually applied. There was a position as a processor. I applied to work for a team within Listing Leaders, which is the company that I work for now. And I went to apply and went to the interview, thought I killed it, and I didn't hear anything. And I'm like, what? Like, there's no way. And so I called, and he was like, listen, you were great. Like, but here's the thing, like, you're not going to want to be a processor. Like, you're not going to want to do this. Like, it's going to take us time and money to train you. And in 2 months, you're not going to want to do this because you're going to be a full-time agent. And it, like, killed, like, it was like, man, what? Like, it was not cool, like, being shut down. I'm like, but no, really, like, I don't want to be in it. Like, I just want to go to work. That's all that I want to do. And it really was, like, the best thing that could have happened, because at the time I was like, I'll show you. So then he said, like, hey, I'd love to have you on my team. Like, finish getting your license, and I'd love to have you on my team. And, like, in my head, I'm like, yeah, never. No way. I'm going to make you regret this.
Yeah, right.
And so, I mean, it really was the best thing, because then I went on to become an agent, and he was absolutely right. I never would have wanted to work for somebody. I never would have wanted to be a processor. I would have, not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just not my, I like to do my own thing. So.
Me too. I mean, well, you know, I was a processor for a while, and disclaimer, I freaking hated it. Yeah. It was terrible. Like, it was nice to have that consistent paycheck, which was something that as an agent I wasn't used to.
Right.
But when it came down to it, like, I didn't want to be sitting there from 9 to 5 shuffling other people's paperwork, watching, like, my business, like, die.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had to eventually choose, like, between their business and mine. And, like, I chose mine.
Yeah.
And
for
that's
sure.
good.
Yeah. And I think everybody's personalities are different, too. There's some people who, like, they don't want to do the hustle. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
At all. I was just born to do it. Like I said, like, I was tiny, and I was trying to figure out how make whatever I could a business. That's just who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nothing against processors or anything
Right.
like that, right? You know,
We need you and we love you because we
Yes.
don't want to do it.
Right,
So
exactly.
Well, and that's a really good point that you make, because I think a lot of people, you know, they'll hear or read stuff like this from people that are like us, or, you know, like some of these other big personalities out there that are doing this stuff, and they'll be like, I don't feel the pull like these people do. Like, that must mean that I'm a lesser person. And that is not true at all. Like, your personality type is important, and there is always space and importance for everybody. That's one of the things I learned in the restaurant industry. Like you said, you worked at a Greek restaurant. I worked at it was like a Mexican American restaurant from a family from Mexico. And so I learned, you know, I started out as a busser and learned about what it's like to be at the bottom. But that's where you learn that even the like lowest, you know, the bottom, like entry level job is important to the entire success of the whole thing.
Absolutely. I am a 100% firm believer in, well, two things. One, that you should always honor yourself and how you feel. Like, if it doesn't fit, then don't do it. And so no matter, like you said, personality wise, like if it's better for you to like wake up and go to work and come home and that works for you, then that's what you need to do. Don't force anything else, because you won't be happy. But two, the entry level position, in anything that I've done, I want to understand it. So even if I'm not going to be the one doing that day in and day out, I want to understand it. I feel like it's so important that if you're a business owner, to know how to do and have done and be in that position of every single position that you have within your company. So I think that there's a lot of people who just hire people to do stuff that they don't want to do. And I mean, that's fine. I mean, that's the goal that everybody wants to do, but you still need to learn it. You need to understand it. Like, if something happens or something goes wrong, like, you should know how to operate that and how to operate your business. Even if it's not your strong suit, hire it out, but learn how to do it first. Know what it entails. It's just, I feel like the only way that you can fully keep eyes on your business and know if somebody's doing something right or something wrong.
Right. Well, and how are you supposed to effectively coach and train and therefore help your people do better for themselves in their own position if you don't know what to look for?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, there's people that are going to do stuff better than you, and by all means, hire that out, but still know the basics and know what you're doing and know what it's like to be in that position. So I don't think that anybody's too good to start at to start at the bottom.
Exactly. Well, and you kind of need to have that experience in learning what you don't like to find out what you do like.
Yeah.
Well, for one thing, it amazes me how people can just be in one job for like 70 years.
Yeah.
And I get very easily bored. Obviously, I change my hair color every week now. But that rings true in like business and work and stuff too.
I'm the same way. I'm sure that people probably like watching me go through all of this different stuff, different businesses. I'm sure people thought I was completely crazy, like pick what you're going to do and do it. But I just really believe like you gotta try a bunch of different things. How do you know? Like, how do you know what you want to do until you've done some stuff and, realize that that's not it. And then when it is it, then you really know. Like, yeah, this is it.
Yes, you know for sure. So when you were doing all these changes and you were saying like you feel like people were probably looking at you like you were crazy, like flip-flopping all these different ideas and trying new careers and all of that, starting businesses in the middle of a recession, like what was that experience like for you? Like, did you have a good support system? And those who did not support you, what role did they play in your life and like the decisions that you made?
Yeah, so early on, I don't think that I had like a ton of support. And I actually just was listening to a podcast about this a little bit. And at the time, it frustrated me. So like I do really well though as the underdog. I do really well when people don't think that I'm going to do well. It's a burn the boats mindset that like there isn't an option. There's not a plan B. So if I'm doing something and because I believe in investing in your business. So if I'm investing in my business, I am not losing. It has to succeed. There's not another option.
Yeah.
And so when I'm doubted or whatnot, it really just fuels me. But as I've proceeded through my life and did different things, I have a track record of success. So I do have a ton of support now. When I say I'm going to do something, like, people rally and they cheer me on. And I think that it's because I have a track record of success. Back then, I didn't. They didn't have faith. They didn't know. I had to earn that. I had to earn, of course, people should always support you in your dreams and stuff. But, I can understand where somebody's coming from, too. Like, I'm in the middle of a recession and I'm like, let me start a business instead of trying to go find a job that's going to give me a for sure paycheck, So now if it were to happen again, I don't think that anybody would, at least that I have around me, I don't think that they would not support me because they would know that I'd get it done. I've been really lucky. And I audit all the time, though. If I have people that are around me that do not serve me or my highest good or the people closest to me,
the end.
They gotta go.
Yeah. Wait, what was like the tower moment really in when you realized, like, oh God, like, I am in the wrong room. I need to be around different people and do different things because these people are only hurting me. Like, what was the awakening moment for figuring that out?
So there wasn't. There's never been. So I have been working on growth and personal development since for the past decade or longer. So it's been slow for me. Like, I've slowly grown and got better with time. And as things became more clear, or I would start to understand things more, it was just like a slow, natural kind of process. And those people just kind of fell away. There was no, like, big blowout or this, like, I can't have you in my life anymore. It's just like space just became space, So there was never like this moment that I had that I was like, oh, I can't be around these people anymore. And there was no like real light bulb moment because it's just been slow things that I keep even today, even now, there's light bulb moments that happen that it's like, oh, okay, like, that's a new perspective. And so, I hope that that's always the case, until I die, that I'm having those, because then I'm not growing if I'm not having those.
Right. Well, and like what you say about how it's just been a slow, continual growth. So many people, I think, get really discouraged because they don't wake up the next day and everything's different.
Yes.
Like, I know that I struggle with that sometimes too. Like, I get started on something like this podcast. And I'm like, why am I not like viral? Come on, I have one video out. Where are my followers? And that's going to take time. So
I heard something that is so true and makes so much sense right now, that people underestimate what can happen in 5 years and overestimate what can happen in 5 months.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That is so freaking true.
Yeah.
Like, that almost gave me goosebumps. I've heard that before, but for some reason when you said it, I think it's because you sound like Rachel Hollis. It's like, I really do feel like that's who I'm interviewing right now. So feel good for that.
Yeah, I wish I was Rachel Hollis.
Well, no, you don't. You're Brandy Bryan.
Yeah, no, yes, that's true. That's true.
But it's definitely true. Like, if you have to learn to make peace with what things are, and then just kind of go with the flow. It's like a game of poker. Yeah. You can't really, like, the dealer's going to give you whatever.
Yeah.
But you can decide how you want to size yourself up against the other people that are playing who have just as much chance as you do.
Right, exactly. You can only control, like, your attitude. That's it.
Attitude and thoughts. Hey, it's Hannah again. If you're looking for a grocery delivery service, I highly, highly recommend Hungry Root. They're not paying me to say this. I literally just really like what I've gotten so far. I want to share that with others. It's super easy to put together the grocery list because they do it based off recipes that you can pick, and you can filter those recipes and the a la carte items based on your dietary needs and restrictions. So it's very affordable, it's easy to use, it's really convenient, and the food is delicious. Make sure you check out the show notes for more information. We're doing the 75 hard challenge.
Yes. Yeah, Andy Frisella's 75 hard.
What day are you on?
Oh, geez, let me look. I try not to, like, focus on it.
Oops.
No, this is fine. Monday 26.
Okay.
Yeah. So good ways into it at this point.
Like a little over a third.
Oh yeah, a third of the way through it. So it's 2 workouts a day, at least 45 minutes. They cannot be back to back. One of them has to be outside. You have to drink a gallon of water a day. You have to take a progress pic every day. You have to pick a diet and stick to it, whatever that might be. If I'm doing a surplus diet because I'm trying to gain muscle. But it's still restricted. It's not like ice cream and candy. Like it's healthy diet. 0 cheat meals, no alcohol. I think that's... Oh, you got to read 10 pages out of a book every day. And it has to be an actual book, so not like audible.
Physical book.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So it's awesome. It is difficult. It's hard, but it's great. So the reason why I wanted to do it is that, I've done all these different things and, like I've been successful. And a lot of that comes from like go, 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 go. So I would work a ton. That's all that I would do was work on a project day, night for months to get it off the ground. And so a lot of times it would get off the ground fairly quickly. And then I would get bored. And I'd be like, okay, well now that it's up and running and doing good, like I need my next thing that I need to conquer. And so that's really cool, but also I feel like to actually get anywhere in life, you have to learn how to do the mundane and just stick with it when it's not super fun and exciting, or this mountain that you're climbing, you're just kind of at a holding steady. And so I thought that 75 Hard would really help me, because it's great to do something for 30 days or whatever, but like 75 days, like it gets old. Like you're just over. It's not super cool anymore,
Right.
Like, you're not going to post on days that you're not posting every single day and like it's just old. It just gets old. And so that's why I wanted to do it, that I could prove that like I could stick through the mundane, even though it's like hard and I'm not going to want to do it, but I can do it. And it has taught me, when I would make excuses before for certain things, like I have learned that instead of making excuses, just plan better. So if I have to do a workout outside and I've got appointments and I'm busy, just like today, today was not my normal day because I had a closing and I had to drop the kids off, and then I'm doing this. So it was like, okay, well, when am I going to get it in? So I have to plan that. Or if it's going to rain, if it all of a sudden rains, well, now what? Now how do I work this? It's not an option of like, okay, well, just tomorrow or we'll figure it out. It's nope, you have to do this. Just make it work. So it's allowed me to be a problem solver, I think, more than anything. And yeah, it's really cool. I mean, obviously everything else is really cool. The fitness, the physical thing, like all that's kind of like cake, but the real motivation behind it was what I just kind of talked about.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I feel great. I mean, it just becomes like a routine. That's really what it comes down to. It comes to routine, which is exactly what I knew would happen. And when I knew that I would probably want to slack because it wasn't super new. And
right.
So that's kind of what I'm learning right now, is just the grit it out, the daily grind of the less glamorous.
Right. Well, yeah. And that's like the best things happen to you in those moments that are like not sexy, I guess is the best way to say it. Like when you are like dying on the floor in the gym and you got 10 minutes left and you do that, you are disgusting and you smell and you like are just about to die, but you're like, wow, I actually did that. And then you go home and then you're able to reach new heights like with your business, because you're like, okay, if I can go to the gym and I can do this for 45 freaking minutes, I can do this one task and I can get through this problem. I have not completed 75 Hard, but I have followed the concept and the movement and have kind of started slowly integrating like those thoughts and processes, because I do want to do 75 Hard. Like 6 months ago, I found out about it and I tried it, and like 7 days in, I messed up. But
well, that's the hard thing, is like if you mess up once, you go back to day one. Yep.
And I think, like what you were saying, like planning is the best way to get through all of that stuff. Like flying by the seat of your pants is cool in certain ways, and being laissez-faire in certain aspects, like maybe when you're on vacation, is cool, but if you want to actually do what you want to do, you have to be structured.
Yeah, exactly.
You do.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
It's like a non-negotiable. And if you look at everybody who is successful versus the people who maybe are not, or maybe who used to be successful and are not anymore, like that fatal flaw is always like how things are executed and
their habits, their routines, their rituals. Absolutely. I mean, I could not be any more of an advocate or supporter for that.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
So you're reading 10 pages a day. What are you reading right now?
Right now, I am reading Get Out of Your Own Way. Don't ask me the author because I don't know. I'm so bad at that, at like the name of the book, matching it with the author. I either remember the author or I remember the name of the book. My husband actually got it, and he was going to read it. And then he started reading the actual 75 hard book. So I was like, well, I'll just give me that, and I'll just read that. It's been really good. It started off really, really good. There's some helpful like stuff in there. It's good. It's not my favorite, but it's decent.
And you committed to it, so you're gonna read it.
Exactly. So that's part of it. You have to finish the book that you start. I mean, it a lot of like limiting beliefs and stuff, how to get through those. The thing I think that I wish was a little bit different about it is they like very on the surface touch a bunch of different limiting beliefs, and I wish they would get like more cut them down, but get, you know, more meatier into that, you know, like
right.
Dig down at like why do people do that, how, you know. So that's what I think my problem is. I want like more. I want more.
Maybe that can be your book.
Maybe.
You see something is lacking, so maybe you are the one that's supposed to bring that to the marketplace.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That's not my strong suit, the limiting beliefs area, but yeah, maybe one day.
You never know. Okay, so the 75 hard, one of the things that you're supposed to do is no alcohol. However, you are already alcohol free.
Right.
Well, that started was that pre-COVID or was that during COVID?
It was pre-COVID.
I remember when you posted about it and you were like, I'm not going to drink anymore. This is not for me. And you have stuck through that this whole time?
Yeah, so I have had a few drinks. I didn't drink at all for probably 6+ months, 8 months, something. Might have even been longer than that. And then I had this like rule that if I was out of the country that I would be allowed to drink. So like we went to Punta Cana and I had some drinks there. Then this past summer I had some, and that's what I didn't like. That I was like, what are you doing? Like, this is not serving you. You don't want to drink. So I struggle with mental health issues, and I have my entire life, and I didn't really understand because they're progressive. And so I had tried meds, I had went to therapy, I'd done a lot of therapy. I had tried different medications and they were awful, and I was like, I swore it off. And really around the time that I became an agent, it was extremely bad. I was struggling a ton and I was drinking a ton, and it was just awful. So I was going through just a really bad period. I was suicidal and I couldn't like get myself out of it, and so I started therapy, and this was like when me and my husband were split, and I got on medication, and it was awful. It was hell. I don't know how else to explain it. Yeah. And I just realized it was actually my husband who was like, he's like, I was drinking a lot. I put it down. Like, you just got to put it down. And at the time I was like, no.
I don't have a problem.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so I don't know. Then I just hit rock bottom, and I knew that I had to stop. I knew that wasn't serving me. I knew that I had to make drastic life changes. And so that's where it came from. And it was hard. It was really, really hard to quit. I did not think that it would be. I've always been a mind over matter person. I've quit smoking like a handful of times, and it was easy. But that was really, really hard to do because it was like a crutch.
Right.
And so, when you don't have something to make you forget things or whatnot, then you got to deal with it, and that's hard. And so yeah, I gave up alcohol, and my life improved greatly. I started making much better decisions about my life, being much more intentional. I still go to therapy every week. I still take medication. And this past summer when I was having drinks, I was like, you're slipping. It's that thing with mental illness is you don't know. Like, it's your head, it's your mind, it's the way that you think. And so unless you're really, really aware of your habits and what you do and why you do them, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to beat. And so I just started realizing, like, this isn't you. This isn't what you do anymore. Like,
like I've got depression and anxiety and just recently kind of like came to a head last year, kind of as we were coming out of the pandemic. It's like a real life came back and it like was crushing.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, like, okay, I need to do something here. And it's funny that, like, what you were saying, like, you become more self-aware when you start doing this work, and you're improving and you're being more intentional. And with that, it's kind of a double-edged sword, at least for me, because I'll catch myself like being like wallowing or like doing making poor decisions in the name of like, I'm having a bad day, I'm gonna go do this, whatever. And then I'm like, what is going on? You need to chill, girl. Like, go sit down. And it's kind of painful because it's like you almost have to like slap yourself,
right? Yeah.
And
for sure.
That is, you know, like one thing that, like what you mentioned, how you are kind of out of that season. You're in a better season of your life now, but you're still doing the things. Like, you're still going to therapy, you're still doing your being intentional, you're still trying avoiding the situations that get you in bad places. Like I know I fall prey to this a lot. Is like, oh, I'm better, the end, and then you stop, and then 6 months later you're like kind of down the hill, and you're like, how did I even get here? Well, it's because you still have to do the work, no matter what.
I used to think like that. I used to think, oh, well, I'm better, and I would always fall back. And I just had that such a rock bottom moment that it was like, I'm never gonna not take care of this. The only reason that I'm better is because I'm doing these things.
Right. And that ties back into why you did 75 hard.
Right.
It's like the non-sexy things of doing that, and writing your goals every day, or going to therapy and going into that like old trauma and things like that. Like, and I appreciate the fact that you shared that, because mental health is a real thing. And I think it really kind of reared its ugly head during the pandemic. A lot of that was unleashed. That thing like ripped the curtain back and kind of forced people to really look,
to sit still. And not be distracted.
It's hard to sit still when you've been like jumping from thing to thing to keep yourself occupied, so that you realize that like, oh, that was a coping mechanism.
Right. Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's a frightening realization, because you're like, wow, like I can't even believe that what I thought was such a great thing was actually me being self-destructive.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So,
I think a lot of people had that like aha moment, when the world kind of just stopped. And
so what's your best advice for somebody who is maybe either experiencing their at rock bottom aha moment, or they're like, they know they're on their way there, or maybe they've already had that and they're on their way out? What would your advice be for somebody who is in that situation that might be listening to this?
Oh my gosh, this is hard.
I like hard questions. Good answers.
Yeah. So probably your mind is lying to you. It's not true. It will get better. Everything gets better. Nothing ever lasts forever. It's hard because when you're in that rock bottom moment, I mean, you just don't believe anything. You don't believe that it's going to get better. You don't believe that it's worth it. You're tired. I've never talked about this, like on social media or anything. And the thing that I think that people don't understand about being suicidal is people don't want to die. It's not like they're like, oh, I want to do this grand thing, or it's that they're just tired.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't have the fight anymore, and they don't want to hurt anymore, and they just are exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, when people say, oh, they're so selfish or whatnot, like, no, they're not. Like, they're not. And so if somebody's in that position, just give it one more minute.
Mm-hmm.
Just give it one more minute.
Even just one more second.
Right. And sometimes that's what it comes down to, is literally seconds and minutes.
Seconds. Yes.
And so it will get better. Find somebody to talk to. Be around people. Like, even if you think you're a bore or whatever right now, like, get around people that love you and that care about you.
Mm-hmm.
Just being around people will help. But I mean, this isn't everybody's jam, but honestly, that's like where I found God. There was a time period that I didn't believe in God, and I'll tell you what, I definitely do now.
Yeah.
He's a big part of my life now. So, I mean, I do think that God saved me there. So, if that's not your jam and you're not doing so hot, maybe hit him up.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's really tough. Get help.
Mm-hmm.
Get help. Get medication. Don't think that you can, like, mind over matter it or be positive, because it really comes down to, like, it's a chemical imbalance, and, like, you would not fight breast cancer with, like, meditation. So just go get it.
And that's okay.
Yeah. Like,
Most of us are messed up in one way or another. We all are. That's like the whole point of humanity, is being imperfect and being wrong.
Yeah.
And like, if you are, if you have faith, like if you believe in God, that's like a big part of it, is kind of releasing that control to him, her, they, whatever it is.
Whatever you believe. Yeah. Like, I'm not here to, like, try and, like, tell anybody to do or believe anything, but
God can be anything to anybody. You know, it can be like, I personally am not really a religious person, but I believe in, like, not like, for lack of a better word, the God inside of yourself, and reaching inside and, like, finding that light, even if it's just like a tiny little flicker. It sounds like a silly thing, like,
no,
but it's true.
It is true.
I mean, lean on faith. Even if you're not a religious person, there's so many other ways that you can bring faith into your life. And I think believing in something kind of helps, and believing in yourself is really that first step. Because if you're not sold on yourself, how are you gonna present yourself to the world and be able to sell yourself to others? So
yeah, absolutely. It's tough being there, and if you're on your way out of it, like, you're doing better, just stick with it. Don't ever get cocky and think that you got it.
Because you don't.
Right. Yeah, I mean, really. So that would easily be my best advice for that. If you feel like you're headed there, go to a therapist, go to a doctor.
Get your mind right.
Yeah.
And if you get your mind right, you get your money right.
It's the most important thing.
Well, because if you're in a better place, then you can be a better person to those around you. And if you're treating yourself with respect, and, self-care is not selfish. Self-care is like a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
You need to have a full charge. Otherwise, how are you going to give anything to anybody?
Yeah. If you can't get out of bed, you can't go to work. If you can't, get out of bed, you can't take care of your kids.
Exactly.
So, like, if the more balanced and grounded you are, the better that you're going to show up for everybody.
For anybody that's listening that thinks that this is all silly, like, just take 30 seconds and just breathe. That's all. That's all it takes. You don't even have to believe in any of, like, the yoga rah-rah and like all of that. Like, you don't have to believe in any of that, but just center yourself. If that's all that you think that you can do that, because every little bit counts.
Yeah. I do a ton of yoga too.
Do you, like, have somebody specifically that you follow?
Yeah. So I've followed a few people, but my absolute favorite right now that I'm following, and I'm taking her, like, chakra course. I'm actually almost finished with teacher training myself. I don't know that I'm going to actually, like, teach, though. Like, I have this problem that I want to monetize everything. It's like I can't just have a hobby.
Just hobby, yeah.
Yeah, like just do it because you just like it, you know. But I'm like, maybe I'll teach it. I really just wanted to go through it so that I could really understand like the concepts and all of that behind yoga, because there's so much more that could be a whole nother podcast. But Sean Korn. So if you follow her on Instagram, she's great. So she has like online, you can search her on Google and probably find some like YouTube stuff that she does.
Yeah.
She has like paid stuff that I do right now. I'm doing like one of her courses, but she's hands down like the best teacher. You'll probably, if you're new to yoga and you start working with her, you're probably gonna be spoiled.
Well, so shout out to, you said her name is Sean Korn?
Yeah, Sean Korn. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, for sure.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, closing thoughts on that. The best teachers are students themselves. So if you're not learning something, then what are you doing?
Right.
You got to learn more. Always got to learn more. Even if you're never going to teach anybody else, in order to teach yourself, you have to learn it.
Exactly. Always learn.
Exactly.
How boring if you're not.
I don't know what I would do. I'm a nerd too. I love to learn.
Yeah.
It like freaks people out sometimes. Where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just, reading books about personal development. What's fiction?
Yeah. Right.
What is fiction?
Right.
What is that?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's almost after school time, so we got to go be moms now.
Exactly.
But thank you again for being on the podcast. I really appreciate your time. This is awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Do you have like any social media, like Instagram or anything where people can follow you and learn more about what you're doing?
Brian.Brandy is my Instagram. Just Brandy Bryan is my social or my Facebook. That's basically, I'm like very new to TikTok. I'm trying to learn it, trying to get outside of my comfort zone. I don't know how well that's going.
It's gonna go great. See, I'm doing the podcast, you're doing the TikTok.
Yeah.
You figure that out. Yeah. I'll figure this out, and then we'll flip flop ideas.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm trying to show up more on social media, just because I feel like when I was in those tough spots, like I looked to so many people, and even if I wasn't doing any of the things that they were telling me, just like seeing them do it and talk about it gave me like hope. And like, oh, this sounds really good. So I just feel like that's how I want to show up. Like, I don't know everything. I'm not, but if I can help somebody brighten their day or give them a new perspective or something that helps them, like that's what I want to do.
Awesome. See, exactly. This is exactly why I wanted you on here, because that's what I live by too. Yeah. So everybody go follow Brandy. It's Brian.Brandy.
Or Brian Brandy.
Brian Brandy. Okay. Yeah. We'll get it right. Yeah. I'll link it and I'll put it in the show notes.
So good. Yeah, I'm not super professional at all. So that's okay. In case anybody was wondering.
That's like the best way to be though. Yeah. There is no like 9 to 5 Brandy and like after work. Like you get all of it all of the time.
You get workout attire at my closing today with my hair tied up. That's what you get. That's what you get.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you.
I hope you got some insights out of today's episode. Links to all of the products or anything that we discussed today will be in the show notes. Make sure you check that out. Also, give us a holler on Instagram. Tag us in your story, advancement_adversity_podcast. Tell all your friends about this super cool new podcast that you got going on here. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We're having a blast. I hope you are too. My name is Hannah Trueblood. I'll see you next week.